Welcome back to the 10th part of the Flutter YouTube Search tutorial course. After adding the Detail BLoC, there is only one thing left for us to do, and that is to build a beautiful UI for the detail screen, which will look something like this. You're going to learn how to use CustomScrollView with Slivers to build an expandable AppBar, as you can see on the screen. And below that AppBar, there will be widgets which will display all kinds of information about the selected YouTube video, including the video tags, description, and that's about it. Hello, welcome to ResoCoder, and let's get right into creating the detail page, which will hold all of those widgets and slivers in the CustomScrollView. Detail page will be located under UI folder, under detail. So let's create a new file, detail page, and this detail page will be a stateful widget. That's because we want to get hold of the dispose method so that we can dispose the detail BLoC. So stful stateful widget, it will be called the detail page. We also need to import the package flutter material.dart, and then we want to pass something into this detail page, because after all we need to know which video details we should fetch. Because if we go into the emulator again, we search for ResoCoder, for example, and click on a video. This video has some kind of an ID. When we click it, we want to it's going to take us into the detail page, and we need to pass the ID over to the detail page as well. To do that, we first need to set up a field inside the detail page stateful widget. It will be final string video ID. It needs to be public, because otherwise we are not going to be able to get it from the state here. And we also need to put this video ID field into the detail page constructor. So to create a constructor, it's simple, just detail page. And then we will have only optional name parameters, key, and video ID, which will be actually required to be passed in. So we want to use the required annotation at required, which comes from meta package, but it's imported when you import material.dart. Meta package is imported automatically also, so we can just use required here as well. And required is this.video ID. And also we mustn't forget to call the super constructor with the key and specify the key. Keys are just simply used for getting a particular widget out of the screen and changing their state or getting to their state. If you are familiar with Android development, it's something like Android view IDs, just a little bit different, but keys are basically like IDs in that you can get something from the widget tree. You don't need to worry about that now. Just whenever you are creating widget constructors, it's a good practice to also provide a key to be passed into the super constructor. Before we proceed with detail page, let us get back to the search page, because we actually need to set up the routing to get to the detail page whenever we click on an item in the search page. For that, we want to find a function right here, build video list item cart, and we want to wrap this whole cart into a gesture detector. So just hit Ctrl and dot, wrap with a new widget, gesture detector, and this gesture detector takes in the child but also on tap. And whenever we tap this, we want to call a function which will then call navigator.push, and we want to push material page route. And this material page route, as every route, needs to contain a builder which takes in context, build context, but whenever you do not need an argument passed into an anonymous function, you can just specify an underscore here. And this anonymous function, let us now format it nicely, will contain that we're going to return detail page, and let us also import detail page here. And we need to pass in the video ID into detail page, which is located under video snippet, which is our build value class. And now we want to get to the ID. The problem is that if we take a look at what we are passing into here, which is a search snippet, and we go there by hitting F12, we can see that there is no such thing as ID inside the search snippet class. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to go, so to say, one step back and not pass in search snippet, but rather pass in search item, because it's the search item class which holds the ID and also the search snippet. We want to get to this ID. So we need to go back into search page, and we could just simply change this search snippet which is passed into the function to say search item, and then modify our code to get to the video snippet later, or actually search snippet later in the card whenever we want to display something here. But what we are going to do is that we are gonna split our code into another function, because this build video list item card function is, as you can tell, getting pretty damn long. So let's now create a new function which will also return a widget. It will be called build video list item, not list item card, but only list item. And this one will take the search item which we need to get to the ID. And now from here we are going to return the gesture detector. So just actually cut it out. Now add another of the braces, or parentheses actually, and the children will be, after we delete unneeded braces and parentheses from here, we need to return card. Now we should be pretty much good to go. And the child for the gesture detector will be nothing else than build video list item card, with passed in video snippet, which is from search item dot snippet. Alright, now it works, and we can get to the video ID by calling search item dot ID. Alright, what is the problem here? Alright, because the ID is itself just a class, and we need to get to the video ID, which is the actual string which we need. And now we are ready to proceed to the detail page, because now we can actually get there by calling material page route. So let's get back to detail page now, and let's build the UI. The detail page state will need to hold final detail block, which we will want to get through dependency injection. So prior to getting the detail block, we need to get into injection container.dart. And we, just as we are registering factory for search block, we also want to register factory for detail block. So let's copy this, and we're going to say register factory again, but this time for detail block. Let's import detail block. This should be enough, because detail block also takes in only a repository. Detail block will be gotten from the Kiwi. So we also need to import Kiwi, because this is our dependency injection little framework, so to say. So import kiwi.dart as Kiwi, and the detail block is gotten by Kiwi container, and we want to resolve detail block. So yeah, and also import detail block here. We should probably import the whole detail package, so that we have access to also the state and event classes. And now what do we want to do here? Inside init state, we want to call from the start that we are going to fetch the detail data and show them. So we want to call detail block.onShowDetail and pass in the video ID, which is from the widget of detail page, .video ID. After we have init state, we mustn't forget about this pose, because this pose is important so that we are not leaking any memory. So this pose, and inside this pose, we're simply going to call detail BLoC dot dispose. Now we're getting to the interesting stuff, which is the build function. We want to return BLoC provider so that we can access the BLoC even down the widget tree. So BLoC provider. We also need to import BLoC provider from flutterblock.dart. BLoC will be our detail BLoC, and the child will not be a container but rather a scaffold. Scaffolds can hold AppBars and the body of the page, and this scaffold of ours will hold a body which will consist of a BLoC builder. BLoC builders are used to build the UI on different state changes which come out of the BLoC objects, and this BLoC builder also needs to take in a BLoC, which will be our detail BLoC, and builder will be specified in its own function called build scaffold content. The builder passes in build context and also detail state, so that function will also need to take in build context and also detail state. So let's return widget from that function, build scaffold content. It will take in build context and also detail state. And now let's pass this function inside the builder. We do not need to specify the arguments because we are only passing in the function. I also want to bring to your mind that you can get the code from this tutorial from the link in the video description, which is going to take you to resocoder.com. So if you want to go through this tutorial's code at your own pace, you can definitely do so. From build scaffold content, we want to return a custom scroll view. Custom scroll views can hold multiple slivers which have custom scrolling effects, and a sliver is simply a portion of a scrollable area, as I'm writing in this comment. You're going to learn about slivers in just a bit if you still don't understand what they are, because that definition is somewhat vague if you have never used slivers before, but they're actually pretty simple to work with. So we need to specify slivers for the custom scroll view. You can think of slivers as of widgets for the custom scroll view, which have some custom scrolling effects. And we need these slivers to facilitate the nice AppBar expansion and collapse whenever we are in the detail page. This is done through a sliver, and that sliver is called sliver AppBar, and sliver AppBars take in expanded height. We're going to hard code it to 178. That's just a good value. You can also somehow programmatically find out what the best height is. It basically just needs to fit in the whole thumbnail of the video. Then we also want to specify that it's going to be pinned. So pinned is true. This will make sure that whenever we scroll down, it's going to stay pinned as a classic AppBar with a red background. Because if this was not true, the AppBar would just scroll out of the screen completely and we would not be even able to see this classic AppBar when we scroll down the screen. Then also we need to specify flexible space, which is where the magic happens, because flexible space is a widget which will hold the text and also the background image and all kinds of things. For that we are going to create a separate function called build sliver AppBar content, and again you can get the code from the link in the video description, because we would be there till tomorrow if I were to write everything manually. So this build sliver AppBar content takes in a detail state. Let's actually call it from flexible space, because this build sliver AppBar content will return flexible space bars. So let's actually change this return type to flexible spacebar so that it's clear what this thing should always return. And let's call it from build sliver AppBar content, paste in the state. And now if state is loading, we want to return flexible spacebar, which will be empty, so there will be nothing displayed in there as we are loading. We are also going to display the loading indicator while we are loading, so let's just click here. You can see that nothing is displayed while we are loading, it's just completely red. Then, if we have successfully gotten the data, we want to return flexible spacebar, which will contain some things. Again, you can get the code from the link in the video description. Title of the flexible spacebar will be set to the video's title, which we can get from the video snippet.title. We're also going to specify that the max lines of the text should be 1, so that we don't have 2 lines, because that would look completely silly here. And also, whenever there is a text overflow, we're going to do ellipsis. The overflow ellipsis should create the 3 dots whenever there is not enough space to display the whole text. The problem with that is that it works, but only when you scroll up. You can see that the 3 dots are here, but when you scroll down so that the text is enlarged, the 3 dots, you cannot just see them, but you can see them when you have the classic AppBar. Then we have the background, which is the image and also the gradient, because we do not want to just simply display the image. We want to tint it to more of a black shade down the image, because then we could not just see the text on a white background thumbnails. Stacks are used to order children behind each other. This image is behind the container. Image holds a network image, which we get from the thumbnail high quality URL of our video snippet, and we set it to boxfit.cover so that it covers the whole available space. And then the container, which is on top of the image, will simply hold a decoration with a linear gradient. We start from the bottom and go to the top of the container with the gradient. And the stops are 0.15 and 0.5. First stop is somewhere around here, and then the next stop is right through the half of the image. And basically we want to have the black color only until 0.15, and then we want to slowly go to a transparent color as we approach the half of the image, and then from the half upwards we do not have any kind of a gradient displayed. And finally, else, so if the state is not successful, so we have some kind of an error, we want to display the centered message, which is a widget which we have created, which is currently located under search widget center message.dart, and the centered message will simply show us the error which had happened. Similar to build sliver AppBar content, we also want to have a function for building the page body, which will be called from the CustomScrollView's Slivers. So let's create that function first. It's gonna be called build page body. It returns a widget. It's gonna return a sliver actually, but slivers are also just special kinds of widgets, because everything in a Flutter is a widget as we get to the UI. So we can also return widget and not sliver here. And it takes in a detail state, and let's just call it from the slivers list. So let's call build page body and pass in the state. Now, inside build page body, we again want to differentiate what we output based on the state which is coming in. So if state is loading, we want to return sliver fill remaining, which is a sliver which, as it says, fills the remaining space. So whatever we have after or under the AppBar will be filled by the sliver fill remaining. So this whole text and tags and description is inside the sliver fill remaining, but when we are only loading the data, this will hold only the loading indicator. As you can see here, for a brief time it displays the loading indicator. So sliver fill remaining will hold a center widget with circular progress indicator. If state is successful, the sliver fill remaining will hold the whole video detail list, which will display the title, tags, and description. We're going to get to that function later. And if there is some kind of an error, we again want to display centered message even inside the sliver fill remaining. So what's up with this build video detail list function? We're going to create it right now, and it's not all that hard because we are going to not even use slivers. We can use classic widgets inside a sliver. What we need to do is to basically create a list view within a custom scroll view, because we are in a custom scroll view so that we can have nice AppBar animation, expandable AppBar. But we also need to have another list view or another kind of scroll view so that we can display our title, tags, and description below each other. To do that, we are going to create a sliver list. But first, let us create build video detail list function, which will take in a video snippet. So let's import that over here. So video snippet.dart. This function will return sliver padding so that we can apply a padding across all of the sliver list. And the sliver list is like a list view, but it can work with slivers or actually inside a sliver custom scroll view. This sliver list also needs to take in the widgets which we are going to display. For that, we need to specify a delegate, which in our case will be a sliver child list delegate. There is also another kinds of delegates which can take in a builder, so you don't always need to specify children directly. You can also use the builder so that the sliver list is more efficient if you have large amounts of data. But for us, it's enough if we can specify the children directly without a builder. And this actually takes in widgets. This does not take in slivers, because actually the sliver list, as you can see here, it says that it creates a sliver that places box children in a linear array. And box children is in a difficult kind of language, just simply not sliver objects. So the widgets which will be held by the sliver child list delegate are text, which displays the video snippet.title with some applied text style so that it's bold and the font size is a bit larger. Then we get to the tags, and tags need to be displayed inside single child scroll view, which scroll direction will be horizontal because we want to scroll those tags horizontally, as you can see here. And the tags will be held inside a container. So it's actually the container which can be scrolled. And we also need to specify the width of the container. We want to set it to be 2 times as much as is the actual width of the screen. So this whole container has 2x the amount of screen real estate. And the children of the container will be inside a wrap widget, which creates a wrap layout. As you can see in the description, what wrap does is that it basically just puts its children besides each other, as you can see with the tags, and as soon as it runs out of space, it creates a new line and puts the widgets into that new line, and then again new line, until it runs out of widgets to display. The wrap will be specified as spacing of 10, and then the children are specified by calling get tags as chip widgets. This function takes in a video snippet and it maps the tags to be chips, because map function takes list of one type and transforms it into a list of another type. We want to transform string list into a list of chip widgets, but we also need to call toList because the map actually does not output a list itself. It outputs an iterable object, and we need to convert iterable to list. And then finally, we can specify the description. We also are going to change the style of the description title to inherit from a theme, text theme.title. And finally, we want to display the description text itself. So this is how it looks like in the preparation app for this tutorial series. And we can now save what we have done. and hit Control, or actually just F5, so that it's gonna run in the emulator. I'm gonna close the app which is currently running. And here we go, we are inside the app and we can search for ResoCoder and search for ResoCoder Flutter. And you can see that it displays the videos. I can click on Flutter BLoC library tutorial, and embarrassment happens because it does not take us to the page. So let's search for what I've done wrong here. Oh right, I'm not calling build video list item yet. I'm just calling, or we are calling, if you've followed along, build video list item cart. So we want to call build video list item and not pass in the snippet, but the actual list or the item itself. Now save that. And now when we go to the emulator and click on something, it is going to surely take us to the detail page. So you can see that it works. We have the tags here. We have the title. We have the nice expandable AppBar with the description. We can get to another video here. So go a few pages down and bottom sheet. It works as well. And this, my dear friends, marks the end of this tutorial series. So thanks to all of you which have stuck till the absolute end. I'm sure you've learned a lot of things throughout this series. If you don't want to miss more tutorials like this from Flutter and also advice for app developers, subscribe to this channel and also hit the bell button so that you join the notification squad and be notified about every single video that I upload, because here on ResoCoder, I'm determined to provide you with the best tutorials and app development information possible. If this tutorial helped you and if this whole tutorial course helped you, give it a like and also share it with others. Leave a comment if you have anything to say. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, and see you in the next video.